Hello and welcome to the Quali demo on the application migration to AWS public cloud using CloudShell. We'll start out with a Drupal content management system on the enterprise data center. It's load balanced using an F5 hardware load balancer, front-ended with the Apache web servers, the actual business tier with the application logic, and then the MySQL data tier. We'll go ahead and re-platform that for the Amazon environment with an Nginx load balancer, and we've combined the instances of web and application, and we've introduced a cloud-native Aurora data tier. We'll then proceed to add the BlazeMeter software as a service traffic load generation, which will give us an idea of how the application is responding as compared to the on-premise version. We'll go ahead and log into the CloudShell interface. And the first screen that we'll come to is the Blueprint catalog page. On the right-hand side, you'll see our username and then several categories we can select from to give us specific templates. In this case, we have templates for on-premise and AWS. So we'll go ahead and select the first one, and we'll start to view our design. Here we have a front-end web server with the Drupal application and the database on the back end, front-ended by a load balancer and then a load traffic generation service. We'll go ahead and look at the next blueprint, which is the Amazon Drupal application. And here you'll see the template has a front-end service for load generation. We have an Nginx load balancer front-ending the Drupal application, and now we need to add additional back-end services. So we'll go ahead and select App Services, Cloud Provider Services, and you'll notice that we'll have the AWS Aurora DB. We'll go ahead and select that, and then position that in its logical location. We'll hover over the icon which gives us this create connection link, and we'll actually establish a link between these two application nodes. And this creates the dependencies now, so when we go ahead and deploy this, the network connection, the application dependencies are in place. At this stage, we are now ready to deploy this application design, and so we look at the instructions to make sure that we have all the steps in place, the solution components, the required software builds, any modifications that we have to do to run the test, and gives us an architectural overview of what we're to expect. So we'll go ahead and start the deployment process. And in the first step, you'll see that we have a 2-hour duration for the sandbox. We'll have an application build number. We'll select 8.6 as the latest one. And then we'll go to a data set that we can include, which we'll select at this juncture. As we go ahead and start to deploy the blueprint, you'll note several things. We are now going into an active state where if you look at the activity and the output, you'll see things start to spin up. And by that I mean things are preparing, connectivity in this case. You'll notice there's some indicators on the top right that also highlight the preparation stage. The next stage that you'll notice is the provisioning. So you will see the app deployments have started, IP addresses have been assigned, and now the connections are starting to be activated. And once the setup has been completed, you'll start to see that the build number is installed on the target instance, the application services have been launched, and the data set that we had selected is also being implemented. And the last component is launching the BlazeMeter service, and then the indication that the services have been successfully established. We can validate the nodes are actually in place by going to the Amazon console, doing a refresh here, and you'll note that the nodes on the left-hand side are also in a running state. At this juncture, we can also validate that the application is accessible. So I can hover over the Drupal Content Management application, and there I have some options to validate how I can access the application. I'll go ahead and select Web, and you'll note that now the website has been launched, or the application in this case, and I can validate accessibility by just navigating to a few buttons. At this juncture, we'll go ahead and start a load and performance test. So here I'm going to go to the BlazeMeter service and hit the command for starting the service. We already have a test script set up on the cloud service, so we'll go ahead and hit run. And now you'll notice in our output window as well as our activity window that there is now a URL that we can start to navigate to see the status of this test. And here you'll notice on the timeline report what the actual nature of the test is. And now we can start the teardown process. We'll go ahead and hit End Sandbox. Select the validation for OK. And now we'll start to see in our activity and output windows that things are starting to terminate. The teardown has begun and the apps are being powered off and deleted. Once the sandbox teardown is completed, you'll note the output window says Finish successfully. On the top right, it will say completed. And now we can validate that in the Amazon instance, doing a refresh. And you notice that the instances are now terminated. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and attention, and just wanted to share with you how quick, easy, and efficiently we can model your application architecture, deploy it into an environment, and validate the accessibility and functionality. So thank you for your time and attention. Please stay in touch, and you can get more information at these following links.